We broke uh, merchandise records across Australia. We outsold the Rolling Stones in merchandise one year. We sold more tickets than any other touring act in Australian history before Pink came out here. Thank you, Kerry. It was, we would sell out tickets within an hour, like equivalent these days, and forgive myself for saying it, Taylor Swift.
Welcome to the podcast, Mr. Chris Forman. Mr. Chris Forman is our special guest today, and we got some stories to talk about our history of Crusty Demons and live touring.
Wow.
Mr. Forman, introduce yourself.
So I'm Chris Forman. I pretty much put together the first ever live Crusty Demons show in 1999 in Baldivis in Perth. On a shoestring budget, flew a whole bunch of weirdos out from all over the planet, mainly the Americans. We drained a jet sprint park in the middle of nowhere, which just turned into like the best sort of like natural terrain style FMX setup. We had one steel ramp, which I think was the first one to be built out here, which Kerry Hart gave us a design for. It was an epic event. We flew Mickey Diamond out 2 weeks prior to the event, where he sat on my lounge room floor, picking at his face most of the time, and we basically came up with a show.
Hey Chris, here's one for you. Here's a funny one. So Clint, which now you know Clint, he's been working with us, Mr. Clint, and so I've been sending Clint some raw footage, and I just sent him in the mail yesterday, and the first tape I looked at was the raw footage of the first ever event, the one you just were talking about.
And I can chime in on this one, Chris. You were, I don't know what you were doing, but I got a call from a landscaper, and it was
Mr. McNabb. Yeah.
His name was, McNabb. And I didn't know what he wanted. And he said, can we take that movie that you guys do and come over to Australia and do it live? And I said, I don't know. We've never done it. Can you pay the guys? Yep. We had plane tickets and this and that. And you guys flew us to this place called Perth, Australia. We had no idea where in the planet that is. We're coming from California.
It's actually the most isolated city on the planet.
Yeah. And you guys flew us, and we were on the plane, and everybody got wasted. Deegan, Linkhogel, Kerry Hart, the Flying Pineapple, Metzger, Seth, myself, and we thought we had arrived in Perth, Australia. You guys flew us to Japan. We got off.
It was a cheap flight, and you know,
you Aussies are fucking cheap asses over there. Yeah. You guys, I didn't realize how tight you guys were until the last couple of years. But
we got off in Japan.
So hang on a second, D. Did you not get business class and first class flights for the rest of the tour after that, like John did?
Yes, but we had to twist some fucking arms, man. You let an Aussie get away with an inch, dude. You'll be flying all over the fucking country, dude. They're like, oh yeah, no, you can just fly to fucking here and there. Well, I guess Bubba liked it. This last trip we did his little Hawaii thing, and it was actually not bad going to Hawaii, but you know, it's all good.
Yeah, that sounds expensive. We're better off bringing you through like Tokyo or Shanghai or Singapore.
No, direct, honest.
Yeah.
Hey, Qantas. Hey, the best part about it was the fucking helmet cam. John, first time ever riding dirt bikes in the fucking bush, and he's filming from the front seat of one of the utes or whatever, all bouncing around. And I'm like, fuck, somebody trying to ride the bike? Oh, no, it's John bouncing around in the front seat of the car. That was pretty cool. But it wasn't long before we
That
came
was the
back
ham and egg show back in the day.
yeah, ham and eggs.
Yeah.
Yep, it sure
That's where
started
we found
into.
Delty too.
It's kind of cool though. I mean, look at now, like the sport of freestyle. You know, like when it was all competition, and I guess our brand, the brand, the whole fucking ball of wax turned into like. I mean, it was the only thing on the planet where the guys could just go show off and get paid, and it wasn't competition except for.
Well, that's exactly what we, like McNabb and I and Mickey Diamond, sat down and said, like, we're not going to turn this into a competition. We're going to turn it into like a live version of the movie, which is just freestyle. Do what you want to do. We've got a bunch of hits in there. Mickey spent like 2 days on a loader building like dirt hits in and out of this drained out jet sprint park in the middle of nowhere. And we basically, when you guys all arrived and we took the riders down there, they're like, what the fudge is
Whoa.
this? Like, and they're
Well,
like,
Mickey's
this is
gnarly.
awesome.
Mickey's
And
gnarly. He builds big shit.
well, it was just, I guess, coming off the back of when he just like had that accident and broke the back of his skull. Um, so Mickey said that he wasn't going to ride, and the good thing was I was road racing for Kawasaki at the time, and one of my good friends, Dale Britton, who was like Australian 125cc like Supercross champion, had like a dozen KXs in his shed at his bike shop, and I said to all the riders, like, "Are you happy riding Cowies?" And most of them were on Hondas and whatnot, and I was like, "This is all I've got." And they're like, "Fuck it, we'll make it work." So we just we dragged all these bikes out, and they just started hitting these things. And Link and Deegs pretty much, rode the track, and bloody Mickey at the end of the day said, "Is anyone going to hit that steel ramp?" And they were like, "Oh, not yet." And he was like, "Give me a helmet," and just brah, and hit the thing. And then all of a sudden, Kerry hit it, Metz hit it, everyone hit it, and it just, everyone just got comfortable with the course that we had. And look, we literally we didn't really have a ticketing agent like Ticketek or something at the time. We were just selling like through local bike dealers and whatnot. We sold like a few thousand tickets, like 2 or 3,000 tickets, and we were thinking, oh man, we'll be lucky to get like 5,000 people out here in the middle of nowhere. So I ordered like a semi trailer full of booze, and we set it all up, and come showtime, it was like I had a certain amount of security, not enough for the amount of people that were about to turn up. They're like, there's a line down the road, like a kilometre long, of people and cars and road bikes. You're going to have to delay the show. And we're still thinking, oh, God, show. All right. Start the band. Open the container, get some booze running. We had to delay like an hour and a half because we ended up getting 18,000 people to that
I
show.
was wondering what was the numbers on that. It was huge.
It was absolutely out of control.
Yeah.
The fact that by half time we'd run out of like a 40-foot container full of alcohol. It was
which is not a good idea in Australia.
No. And as you know, we had some of our friends that we will talk about later coffin cheaters, bikies, whatever, that turned up thinking that, you know, there was going to be a freestyle show and alcohol from start to finish. And I guess it got halfway through the show. And we started to have some angry people that obviously when you're half tanked, you want to keep drinking. And all of a sudden, we had a few fights in the crowd, and security were on comms with us and were basically like, "This is fucked. We're out. We're walking out." And I'm like, "What do you mean?" And they're like, "You've run out of booze. Everyone's pissed off." So we lost our security. So from that point on, we just decided to do the second half of the show, which is when Metz decided in his good graces to cartwheel his bike, grab his helmet, take it off his head, and say, "The first person to get to me gets my helmet." 2,000 or 3,000 people busted down our hay bales with a little bit of fencing, which was not like OH&S approved. Rushed Metz, tackled him to the ground. He just managed to avoid, like, literally probably ending up in like a white van and being butt raped for the rest of his life in a small country town in WA. We managed to get all of the riders and the bikes into the back of the Honda race team truck, which I borrowed, and locked the back of the truck. And we spent like an hour in that truck while the thing's being rocked side to side, like with people bashing on the side of it, which we paid a lot of money to have to repair that truck at the end of it. And then once it all sort of got it settled down a little bit, when we could hear helicopters in the air, sirens, not just police, but ambulances and fire trucks. We walked out of the back of that truck, and it was like apocalypse now, Armageddon. Like the whole compound, the ramp had been tipped upside down, the marquees were set on fire. Where we were in the middle of nowhere, there was farmers with the big hay bales everywhere. Half of those were on fire in paddocks within a mile around us. There was the Channel 9.
Sounds like LA.
Yeah, it sounds like your guys every day.
But this doesn't happen in Perth, Australia.
It's never happened in the history of Perth, Western Australia, ever. No one had ever experienced or thought Crusty Demons would come to town.
So you created a monster, because then it turned around and now you got all these other fucking people going, "Oh, all I remember is every time we go to a town, they'd be like, 'Oh, the Crusty Demons, we couldn't even get a hotel.' Like, fuck, we don't want you guys back anymore." And I think a lot of that, because all of a sudden now you were fucking steering the machine. I remember going into towns with Chris Forman, was just like, "We need everybody's coming to the strip bar, fucking doors open, this, that." And you're like running the thing. And then I remember, because, I think me and you always had some real fun run-ins, because I always kind of stayed in the rider car. So I think we like to poke stick, and like, man, how many things did the riders wind up like all of a sudden they were the ones trashing everything. It wasn't the fans anymore. It was the fucking, like, the Crusty Tour would go through a town in a whirlwind.
So we left that town in flames, cop cars upside down, this and that. We went on to other adventures, and Chris.
Yeah, no, that
take it
whole
away.
Just for the end of that, like, Baldivis adventure, we did, like, as people were leaving, they tipped over a whole bunch of cars, set them on fire. The cops came, like, rest in peace. There was a road bike rider that tried to get away through a fence and hit a fence and decapitated himself. And Wayne and I, after that event, we went to Kalgoorlie, but that's another story. We had major issues with the police and the council for a few months, and then we packed up in our V8 SS Commodore and pinned it across the Nullarbor to Melbourne, and then that's another story. But
well, you're on
yeah,
storytelling right now. Give us a
at
story.
the end of the day, we put ourselves on the map to be the first ever live, like freestyle motocross show that wasn't just a competition. It was actually like a theatrical spectacular.
You called us up and wanted everything that we were doing on our films in Crusty Demons, from number 1, 2, 3, 4, and you said, "Can we make that into a live show?" And that's kind of the concept that you had. And Wayne,
we had fire breathers and
yeah,
all that sort of stuff at that first show, which was great. But obviously, for the next decade on from that point, we turned it into something which was a global phenomenon. Which
let's talk about that. When we would come, my perspective from, okay, we're movie makers, and like nowadays, a couple of these last tours have been, fucking little qualms. It's like, you know what? Oh, fuck off, whatever. And the thing back then was like you and the promoters we got with, and what it developed into. You carried the cool shit in our movies through, and our shows like theatrical, and there was cool intros. Everything was a surprise, and then there was a little bit of the taste of the rebellious from the writers, and we would come over like in a crew to Australia, but the whole thing for me was everybody that went back was like that was the sickest thing they've ever done in their life. Like that trip.
Oh, I remember for years. That
was everything
having riders contact me when we would announce, like I guess in 2001 when we went to the Gold Coast, and we hooked up with Tony Cochran, who owned SEL, who owned the V8 supercars at that point, which is Australia's biggest, like it's our NASCAR in Australia. And he was like, I want to take this on. I'm going to buy this. We're good. And I remember, like, McNabb and I went up there. We were up there for like 6 months working out of his big fancy office on the Gold Coast. And the riders flew in. And we get a call pretty much straight away saying, excuse me, one of your riders has been apprehended in customs. We're like, oh, all right. What's that about? Bloody Linkoggle put a whole bunch of syringes in his beanie walking off the plane. And they're like, have you got drugs on you, mate? And he's like, not on me, but in me. And he got held up in customs. And from that point, we realized that this is going to be an epic adventure.
I remember coming through with Link and Deegan in the early days, and he had a handwritten doctor's note, and for like, I don't know, they were doing their fucking fighting steroid things or whatever their shit was. So they bring like a lunch sack shit. He's like, no, I got my note. And the customs dude was so fucking dumbfounded. He's just, okay, go ahead. And I'm like, dude, these guys are fucking funny.
Yeah. No, I remember that. I remember when we checked out.
But I've learned to travel. Coming home, you got to fucking separate from all of them and go through your bags. I can double check you.
But I remember when we were in the first show that we did, John, in Brisbane at the Boondall Entertainment Centre.
Oh yeah.
And we stayed at a 5-star hotel down in Brizzy, and we're all checking out, and one of the managers comes to me and goes like, "Oh, we've got a problem with one of your rooms." And I was like, "All right, yeah, this will be good." And he goes, "Can you just come up with me?" And there was a massive vase, like a fancy Egyptian style vase. And he goes, "Can you just look in that?" And I was like, "Oh crap!" And it was just full of syringes. And
Okay.
and I was like, "They're not us. That's not ours. What's up with that? Do you not clean your rooms?" And he's like, "No, no, no. We clean our rooms, but there's also like some footage of." And back in those days, like Larry and Dee used to just inject like steroids into their bellies. I'm not sure
they
if
were
it
doing
was.
steroids. They were on roids. They were doing they were
Yeah,
they were
yeah.
they were cage
And I was like,
fighting.
"Man, it's not, it's not H, it's not anything. It's just, they're athletes, and that's how they do it in the US."
They're all into fighting, and Link could be all, "Hey, Tito needs a ride, fucking or whatever. He's broken down to Huntington. He needs you to go pick him up." He's always fucking do this funny shit. Me and Link's ass. But for a while, they were like, they got onto the whole training and fighting and all that stuff for a
Yeah,
little bit.
yeah. I mean, Jimmy Blaze did it with growth hormones to recover from the 400 crashes that he'd have on like a
Oh,
12
Jimmy Blaze, are you sure it wasn't growth hormones? You know what I mean? And shit's pretty weird nowadays with all those things.
Yeah, no, he used to do a lot of it just to recover because he just wanted to get the next show done and dusted. So he would take all sorts of things, legal stuff, which was illegal in Australia at that time, but obviously, quite accessible in the US.
Yeah. Did
Yeah.
you guys ever figure out how to legalize weed in Australia?
We do have a lot of grow farms down here right now for medicinal use only, but it's still like I think in Canberra and South Australia, they are now like if you get busted and you've got like a gram or two on you, it's for personal use, so you can get away with it. But
Yeah.
still, in most states, it's still like you'll get a fine or like a charge.
Last time we
So
were there with the McMuffy thing, he was like, everybody was all fucking in the 80s, all fucking pinned out. Like, you try to find weed, and they're like, what? What are you, a weirdo?
Walk us through a little bit of the early times and then how we progressed.
so you want a little bit of a synopsis on from like
Yeah,
99 to
1999. You
2011?
brought
Look, we, from that 1999 show until we did the last tour, like proper Cap City tour with Paul Dainty in 2011,
yeah.
we broke uh, merchandise records across Australia. We outsold the Rolling Stones in merchandise one year. We sold more tickets than any other touring act in Australian history before Pink came out here. Thank you, Kerry.
Right?
The It was we would sell out tickets within an hour, like equivalent these days, and forgive myself for saying it, Taylor Swift or Pink. It was literally like a phenomena for 6, 7, 8 years. That, as you both know, like we owned this country. We could do anything. We could get pulled over by cops, and they would just be like, "Crusty Demons, on your way. Slow it down,
Dude,
boys."
we did.
Yeah.
I remember
You know,
going through customs. Every fucking time I go through customs, you do would look at my passport, you would look up, you look at my passport, you go, fuck. And you would just like, oh, you guys are here. And I'd be like, wow.
yeah, it was literally like it was a phenomena here in
Hey,
Australia.
what about,
Um,
okay, some of the highlights. Let's just, I mean, obviously we toured for years, though. We could talk about you for days on that shit, but like getting into some of the highlights and like, to me, like, we always did these first. Besides the world records, the flip in the Harley, the front flip, the double back flips, and all the stuff that the progression of the fucking resi mats. When you fucking try to kill us when the kangaroo got. Remember when you tried to kill us when we were fucking driving to Summer Nats and the 6-foot kangaroo went frozen chicken in the middle of the road? We were doing like 120 in the middle of the night. Me and you were driving.
Oh yeah, that was in Western
Grab
Australia.
the fucking wheel. Remember? That was gnarly.
That was because as an Australian, you always know that a roux at the last minute's either going to jump left or right. So you got to, and as a desert racer, you got to know, like, hold it to the last second because you got to know whether to flick that left or flick that right. Because they don't get stunned like deer and just go. They will jump at the last second. But
yeah, no, that one changed his mind. I had to give you an assist on that one. A little co-driver assist.
Yeah, you did grab the wheel. I did get angry at you.
Well, I didn't want to fucking kill us and just drive through the kangaroo, dog. Remember,
He was only 6 foot. He was a red. He wasn't like the big greys you get in the north of Australia, which can get up to like 7.5.
Yeah, that was a good one. That was a good one. But man, it's crazy how, like you say, how much impact we did in Australia. And
look, it changed the
sport.
It changed like how people and like because X Games came out here a couple of times after we did that first show, and then with even X Games in the US and whatnot, people, I went to many X Games in the US because we sent a lot of our Australian crusty riders over there that weren't really considered like good riders or good talent. And as you know, John, we convinced, a lot of people to, and us as crusty promoters back then, we paid our riders airfares and accommodation and everything like Bilko and Sinclair. Yeah, because we wanted them to earn the notoriety that they deserve. Because in Australia, if you were on a crusty tour, you were becoming an innovator on, like with Bilko doing like ruler flips, or just jackhammer and like just the basic tricks back then. I mean, we invested a lot of money as crusties to get Jacko to do the front flip, to get Cam Sinclair to do the double. We brought Scott Murray out.
Safe. You know what I mean? To do it safely, like developing the resi mats and all that stuff. People don't realize, like, all that development, and now it came down to the airbag, obviously, but like, what a testament to, you know what I mean, how those tours went and how much you guys, thought
well,
outside
it became to the point that I'd ring like Wasserman or somewhere and say like, hey, Crusty Tour's coming on again next year. We got the 9 Lives tour. And like Jimmy Button would be like, oh man, I've got Nate Adams, I've got Kerry, I've got this, I've got that, I've got how many do you want and how much are they going to get paid? Because they all want to be on that tour. Because in the off season, because we would generally do it in our summer or whatnot, it was better for them to come to Australia and train with like a dozen like best of the best riders on the planet. We would, like, rather than stay in hotels between some of those stops, we would go like, oh, Bilko, Cam, where's the closest like hotel? It's not a hotel, it's a shitty motel. Fine. And we would send a truck down there with all their bikes so they could all practice together and hang out and have barbies and drink piss in between shows. It was a family. Like,
hey, remember when Johnny and I would show up on tour and as soon as like you guys would leave town, we'd go fucking find a truck and pull the bikes off the fucking semis and take off with riders and go film shit. Like, you guys never liked that. You guys always just get so mad at us. Like,
Well, it's
you guys thought
because I'd have to beg, borrow, and steal in the early days to get like a dozen brand new CR 250s and a couple of KXs for Mad because he'd always break one, or ghost ride it into Larry or something.
For the fans out there,
Yeah.
we're talking about Mad Mike Jones.
Yeah.
Yes.
Bloody legend. Love him. He was a stalwart for the Crusties for, for like 6 or 7 or 8 years. Actually walked my wife down the aisle, believe it or not.
Yeah, you ditched him. You ditched me with Mad Mike. Fucking, we kicked him off the lat. That's a whole another one. You owe me a dinner on that one, dude. You fucking
that's another story, and we'll get into the bikey stuff at some point. We will get into the bikey stuff at some point.
No. Good times though.
Oh,
but
look,
yeah,
it was a decade of mayhem and chaos. And the one thing I've always said to everyone, and I talk to Adelberg and Jacko and whatnot, and it's great that they're doing like Freestyle Kings, and they're in Joburg at the moment, in South Africa, and but the thing was, like, we were a theatrical show. We always had a theme from start to finish. What I guess what Freestyle Kings is doing at the moment? Yes, they've got awesome riders, some of the best in the world. They're doing front flips.
That's cool.
Everything doubles. But what's the sentence I say? And I need to be careful how I say this. We were the instigators, not the imitators. So everything from this point on is a follower.
Well, the sad thing is like, everything we've done, we've never bagged on anybody else. That's why we've always done Australia.
Look, at the end of the day, our mates are getting paid to ride, and that's what it always was. Like, we were a family, and you guys created these people. I just turned it into something that they could tour the world.
I think that's
at the end of the
super
day,
cool because we develop lives and lifestyles for these people to actually live that adventure like we did, and hopefully this keeps going for a long time. But I think that's what the big thing that you're trying to get across, Chris, is we created athletes and lives, and not only that, they got married and they have kids, and they're now
homes that they own. And
what the funny thing is not only did we create a fucking live show that wasn't a competition, we actually created the competition itself. And that's like, people don't even like, some these guys doing South Africa and all that. It's cool to see the whole generation go on. But like, say me or us in snowboarding, you still got to always look at roots. You know what I mean?
And that's the thing. That's the thing, D, is like, when like we would go on tour, I would, and we were paying $15,000-$20,000 a day for some of these stadiums, like at Acer Arena back in the day, or Rod Laver. I would open the day and like a day early and pay an extra like 15 grand and close down the whole set so no one could put lights up, speakers, or anything like that. And any rider that wanted to ride could just come down and ride. And you would just hear them in the change room, in backstage, just bantering about, like, how did you do that, dude? Like, and it was just an evolution at that point in the early 2000s about, like the double or the fronty, or just any trick that they were doing. They would be like 10 of them just standing there, just evolving.
Well, I think
not
when
like
we
in a competition at X Games where they're all like off here and off here, and I'm not telling you what I'm going to do. These guys were a family, and that's what made Crusty so amazing back then.
We spent 10 years, touring in Australia was amazing because, on our side, us as filmmakers, the progression of everything involved, all the different, the tricks, the whole sport itself, and the riders having fun, the most part, getting paid to go on. The chicks would go and they bring their families. Some of them would just find wives and bring them back. Is for a long time it was the fucking place to go on. And the thing that blows me away is like, we did 2 Not a Will records with you. Like we're talking about possibly doing something else, but nowadays there's
that's a whole different podcast, and that is a
absolutely.
whole different story, and an amazing adventure with like Guinness and doing, Trigger. May he rest in peace. And everything evolved from that first one to the second one, which is still the biggest Crusty show that we've ever done at 38,000 people. Night
Yeah,
World
well, I
Records
mean,
too. So as a standalone show.
yeah. I don't know. I see this whole thing as like, now with the airbags and the shows. I mean, there's people jumping ramps everywhere around any corner at any fucking fair. But to actually do a big show by itself, like, like Night of the Jumps, they still do a pretty good show. Other people are doing pretty good shows. But then at the same time, some are seem like, watered down, like, how you say, like, oh, people used to go at the end of the ramp. Well, the funny thing is yeah, they still all do. They all go out there and they all go and they all clap for the dude, and they're doing it like some big fake ass thing, trying to make it all exciting for the crowd. And it's so fake, it's a joke. It's like, oh, the good dude on the Razor scooter did a double flip. Oh, they all clap like it's some fucking amazing thing, and I know it's a show. It's a show, and you're going to repeat it 2 times a week and go to the next stop, and blah blah blah.
And that's
But I
exactly
think,
it, D. I mean, it's like a circus. It's that's what
yeah,
that's what they do, and and you say, yeah, but every time, as I always said back in the day in interviews and whatnot, every time one of those riders flicks his leg over that bike, he may not come back. So if you're getting paid like $500 a show or 2.5 grand a show, if you're a name, you're earning a living from something that you love, something that you're
well,
passionate
yeah,
about, and that's awesome. So like the amount of like single ramp little fair demos, and down here in Tassie as well, we've got the
they're
Wasserman
still
boys
having
down
fun
here.
though.
It's awesome.
They're
They're
paying,
getting
yeah,
paid
they're
to do
paying the
something they
bills.
love.
Yeah,
So,
I think it's cool. Well,
and
and
they're all
then
getting paid
plus,
from something that you guys have created from your movies that gave them passion to do it. So, whether you're doing a heel clicker or you're doing a double backflip, like I'm always like,
It became
power
a
to you, brother.
lifestyle, is what it did, and it was a
Yes.
lifestyle
yeah,
that people wanted to live because vicariously, you live through some of our movies. For a lot of people, they might want to sit on the couch and live it that way, but then there's the other type of athlete that goes, "I can do that," and then you got
Yeah,
the
or a
then you
four
got the
year old
Stewies,
a four
then you
year
got
old
the
kid.
Jackos, you know.
Like people have said to me, like, "Oh, Krusty's was like 15 years ago when you guys were touring properly." I was like, "But you know what? Like, kids are still getting the motivation from their granddads and their dads, and watching these movies and going like, wow, freaking hell!" Like,
Yeah.
absolutely.
every year we have a new generation of freestyle motocross fans. Um, and kids that want to try a backflip or a front flip or something. So it's it's I don't think it's ever. I mean, the sport for me now has sort of it's plateaued. I mean, you're getting front flip combos now, but you're not getting anything better than what Jacko and Adelberg are doing. Um, Double flips, you're getting a couple of combos in that. You're not seeing triples in competitions apart from
Yeah,
Nitro World Games. Um, it's
I don't want to see that. I don't want to see that at a weekend show. I don't want to see a triple like that's like, you know what I mean? Like the for me back in the day, even like say the Night of World Records was a couple of the sickest shows. It was the most, as a brand owner, the most like nerve wracking. You know what I mean? Just the fact that, you know, it's life or death. You know, it's like,
It was a scary show. We risked a lot of
yeah,
lives on both those events, and
yeah. I
yeah,
mean,
it was.
when we
But
did
you
our
know,
normal shows
but
on a normal tour,
We had the best people on the planet,
we did.
and
But
we
on
researched it.
the normal tour, people went to the hospital a lot. Ambos would always roll, but at the same time, it was people pushing their shit to a limit. And some of the shit that we did, you know, now necessarily with the airbags, people, you know, maybe don't get hurt as much. It's a little different. You know what I mean? I think it's a give or take, you know, I
How
would
many
say.
trips did we take to the hospital, Chris, over our
Oh God!
years? Can you count? I don't think I can count.
Look, I think honestly, at the end of
Jimmy
the day,
Blaze pretty much every weekend.
I was about to say I took Jimmy Blaze pretty much every weekend, and I sometimes
Yeah.
would be there in the emergency for an
Hey,
hour, and he would jump up and go, "Dude, is there a wheelchair here? We need to get to the after party."
Yeah.
And I would just grab him, and then we'd drop the wheelchair off in the morning out the back of the Tarago, and yeah, but you know, it's and this is something else I wanted to talk about, and maybe on a different podcast is like the mental health of these athletes, particularly because I've been speaking with like Jimmy a little bit lately, and some other unnamed riders, and obviously what happened to Trig and some other people, is, you know, like these guys, you know, they spend like a decade and a half being Hollywood rock stars, bigger than rock stars in their environment. Um, you know, is like, you know, do their sponsors like Red Bull, Monster, Rockstar have something in their contracts that, yeah, all right, I have a bad year, you get dropped, you went from 100K to zip. What do I do now? Do I just do two and
yeah,
2.5 grand demos? And you know, it's like, and again, John, just speaking with Blaze lately, he
Yeah.
has struggled in his post being an international freaking snowmobile rock star,
Yeah.
dealing with his everyday life right now.
yeah, but
Um,
that's just how it is. I mean, fuck, dude. The reason Crusty Demons exist is because I was a fucking professional snowboarder, and I wasn't
yeah,
gonna
but
be. Oh, I'm just,
I'm sure there are
you know
surfers
what?
like and snowboarders and everyone that got treated like gods and then got dropped like a hot rock.
It's the same thing with football or baseball or soccer. You know,
Yeah,
same thing.
same
Once
thing about
when you're done,
date a model.
yeah.
Try dating a hot chick. It's all. It's part. It's called life. You know what I mean? Jimmy Blaze is fucking badass. You
I
pick
think we
yourself up
took
by
too
your
many concussions, and myself
yeah.
included.
Hey, check
I've
this out.
I've watched people. I've seen enough friends develop things throughout their career to understand when I see people that I think have some kind of, you know,
All right,
things
don't even
developing
talk
from
about that. I've
concussions.
hit my
All
head
right,
way too many fucking times. So,
this might be
hey,
a
can I
different
share my award?
podcast option, but I think it's a big thing because I'm talking to like a lot of riders, not a lot, but a few that we all know very well, that are struggling to adapt to like
All right,
mainstream
well,
life now.
Life
And
listen,
after being a
hey,
rock star.
we'll
yeah,
put
and
fucking
look,
Jimmy back
to
on
be
tour.
honest, John, I have even, you know, like from road racing in the late 90s to then going straight into Crusties to now trying to live a normal life like, and living that lifestyle for, 2 decades, it's hard sometimes to assimilate with, normal. When I take my son to school and I hang out with the other parents and they're like, "What do you do? What did you do? What have you done?" And you're like, you start to tell a story and you realize, oh my God, they are not going to understand
Yeah.
what
Where do you
I'm
start?
talking about.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Okay, can I
And
get a question in? I got an award that you gave me. It's called the Loose Cannon Award.
I've
You
got
actually
that
gave me.
trophy. I've got that trophy downstairs.
You gave me 2. I got
Yeah, you got it 2 years in a row, dude. Yeah.
Well, I also got a substance abuse award. I didn't bring that one home. I think I left that one, but I still got my trophy.
That's when weed
Kind of
was illegal down there.
Nice. Power to you, D.
This one's a loose cannon. I would guess I was a loose cannon or something.
You got that 2 years in a row. I've got your other one downstairs because you were like,
Well,
I can't take that back home to Shell.
what made me such the troublemaker? All right.
Well,
Again, you
I
were
always
the
say,
instigator.
Dana's gone way too fast for his own good. Where's his hair?
Right.
Bye-bye.
You
All
got to
right, well,
stop
hey,
combing that thing.
Hey, we could bring Jimmy Blaze out of retirement on our fucking our American Mayhem project we want to do, because we're just gonna have some fun stuff.
Look,
Anyways,
he's looking at something at the moment. I talk to him every other day. He's my son's godfather. So
it kills me, Chris, because when we came back to Australia last year, and I thought we had some good ideas, and God bless Bub, I kind of get mixed up in, well, Bub's stupid ass, and we'll talk about that whole fucking bullshit, but just in the fact that but just in the fact that we came back to do a show, and the flack that we got from other people in the over there doing shows without talking about names, that and that whole fact about you're riding for us and you can't ride for anybody else. Like, we've never been like that. Like, what I mean? We made fucking
we never cared about that. When we had Red Bull as our first ever major
right.
energy drink sponsor, like they were like, "Oh, we only want Red Bull riders," and we're like, "Dude, you're buying logos on ramps. You're not buying riders. If you want to pay for riders, like it was
the sad thing
we were
is,
never like that. We were
the
never
sad
like."
if we bring something around, say, and we had some dude that wanted to just, hey, let's do a reunion show. Let's do the fucking OG reunion show. Bring back some of the boys and come in and do something in your town just for the fuck of it. It would be cool as fuck. But the funny thing is all the new little cliquey local riders, I feel like, I mean, everybody's in their own little lane. I mean, last time it was kind of weird. It was like, it wasn't
No,
like,
mate, I'd get 10 riders that aren't clicky, and some of them are our ex-Crusty riders. It wouldn't be a problem. So to do like a revival show or a one-off tour, not a problem. It'll be easy.
are you
People like they miss what it used to be like. So they
well,
miss
I'm
that
working on that other.
camaraderie.
I want to ask a question here, Mr. Forman.
Uh-huh.
What was maybe the best tour that you think that we ever did back in the day?
Oh crap!
What year? What tour?
Look, because obviously I'm doing that potential other thing that we talked about at the moment, and I was listening the other day on my computer of like from Bell Divers to Thirst for Destruction and every tour in between, and realized we did over 151 shows worldwide. We had over 62 that I came up with, athletes that were involved in our tours. That's everything from trials bike to BMX to mountain boarders, a coney. To snowmobiles, to
Yeah.
quads, to FMX, to like the drop-in BMX trials guys and stuff. And I actually was thinking about that. And I think the Nine Lives tour was probably my favorite to do, because we just had so much carte blanche on creating chaos on that tour.
Tell people, where did we go on Nine Lives tour?
Oh, we did Perth, Adelaide, Melbourne, Sydney, Brisbane, Cap City. I think we did 3 shows in Melbourne that year at Rod Laver at 14,000 a night. 2 at Acer Arena at 16,000 a night. 2 in Boondall it was a small stadium. It was like 9,000 a night. It was 100,000 packs tour, that one, just for a Cap City show.
Yeah.
And we were selling, like I said earlier, over $120,000 in merchandise a night. It was like close to like a $2 million tour just in merchandise. We sold more in merch than we did in tickets. It was crazy.
So in your opinion, you're running the show, you're the master of ceremony, so to speak. What happens when you get a guy that comes out like Larry Linkhogel and says to the entire audience, if you're down, just storm the stadium,
charge the arena?
What is going on in your brain and the promoter's brain when things like that happen and the whole stadium did come down and attack Larry Linkhogel? What was your thoughts?
Man, I remember that like it was yesterday, because it was horrific. Because the cars that we had on set, back then, we didn't realize, like OH&S wise, that you had to take the glass out and remove the fuel tanks. So there was fuel tanks, probably with a little bit of fuel, still in those vehicles on the set inside a major stadium. I just immediately got on comms and evacuated all of our staff off floor, got as many riders backstage as possible, and we sort of just let it have to go for a little bit, because we had nothing else to do. And then I remember, like, as we were bringing down the big roller door where we were backstage, seeing like a dude standing next to one of the cars that was upside to use a lighter to light the fuel tank. And and I remember grabbing one of our big Maori security guards, going like, dude, grab that dude. And he just pinned it like, an all black, and knocked the guy down. And then amazingly enough, we had a whole bunch of security come down that started to stop the kids from jumping up and down on potential, like, OH&S major issues, from breaking ankles and legs and arms and whatnot. And obviously then the police came and it settled down. But yeah, it was something that we didn't think that we would ever have to deal with again until we went to Perth. 3 more shows.
When we went to Australia as Americans, it's like we kind of like felt like we could not get away with shit, but like
well, of course we thought we could get away with shit.
I guess we knew.
Well, back then we all used to be able to get away with.
We didn't give a fuck.
We used to run it pretty fucking solid. It was pretty funny. Some of the shit we used to do over there. It was not disrespectful.
We could get away with anything back then. But Perth, I think after that first show that we ever did, it became like a mentality for those like Perth fans, that it just became a part of the show that they would riot at the end of it, whether it was at Baldivis, Kwinana Motorplex, the drag strip, or inside like the Burswood Bubble Dome. Like, they just knew that it was like at the end of the show, we're going to destroy everything.
Hey,
And
Chris,
they literally would do that.
Yeah.
I'm sorry, but when I used to run around on the floor with my camera, I remember especially at Perth one time I was with Benno, and I'm like, I told Benno, I'm gonna watch this shit, dude, and I could always take my camera and I point at the fans and I give them one of those, and you know how I get the whole crowd going, and then I give them a couple of those, and the
So
whole fence.
you were the instigator?
I'm sorry, Chris. I did that a couple times. Just
We're not just filmmakers. We are instigators.
yeah,
Uh-huh.
dude. Remember that New Zealand? Remember in New Zealand when Pora tried to be a dick to me and fucking shit, tried to be like, oh, like
Don't ghost
Mr.
ride that bike over the
Don't
back of
do
that
this,
lander.
don't do. Yeah, don't do anything. Go, don't hurt anything, and
Oh, that's all right,
that
dude.
went on.
When you ghost rode that, like I think it was like a Kawasaki 650 or something
Yeah,
over the up the back of the landing ramp. Not only did you almost kill like a cameraman that was standing there, but you took out like two
That was
$25,000
Mad Mike, actually.
speakers. No, it was the. Oh no,
well, no,
you told Mad
I
to
had
do it.
Mad
Oh,
Mike
Mad
do it.
Mike.
Yeah,
Yeah, that's
yeah,
right.
but
Yeah.
the
Yeah.
in defense of the camera guy should have been looking out for his own ass like I do on the floor. He shouldn't have been on the floor. And the speakers, wasn't the next show after we made the news that we almost killed the cameraman? Wasn't the next show sold out? Like,
Yeah,
remember?
is that how you're justifying that? I like that. That's actually good
Absolutely.
because look, hey, any bad publicity is great publicity.
Oh yeah, like when you guys try
Yeah.
to kill me over there bungee jumping to your fucking goddamn
Yeah, how many
country.
extra tickets did we sell because he almost died in a shopping cart bungee jumping?
Dude, I
Well,
almost got
I
a little
did
bungee in your
I did
country.
tell Gav to put a couple of carabiners on your buckle. So
Your dumbass buddy Gav is the one that told Seth to push me in the thing. Oh, push him in, and I'm still carabiner to your
yep.
shopping cart. But
Hence
I
why I
don't know.
just said that, brother. Yeah.
What about your
We thought
fucking
it was
spider?
a lot deeper than what it was. So yeah.
That's
For the
right.
fans out there, Dana almost died going off a bungee jump with Seth Enslow pushing him off the top. And I was filming from the top. And I was like, what happened to D down there? Well, Seth pushed Dana off the boat, but he still had carabiners attached to him in a shopping cart and went to the bottom of this little lake that we were bungeeing into.
The lagoon.
And you had to save your own life on that one.
Yeah, Houdini style. But the
And
photo,
you told
the shot,
me after all the things that we've been through, avalanches and crashing helicopters, and you told me I ain't going down like this. I ain't dying in a fucking shopping cart.
How did he tell you from 25 feet down?
I told him
after he pulled it.
I had to sit there and fucking.
I know. We were all at the front. I'd already ordered a round of beers saying, this is for D.
Yeah. No, fuck you guys, bitches. I had a fresh sack waiting for me too. And what about, remember I got bit by your dumbass spider, your white tip over there? You guys don't have no pest control yet, or what?
Dude, that's the weakest of all our spiders. Once you get bit by a redback or a funnel web, then you'll be screaming like a little girl.
Have you got bit by anything over there?
I've been bit by a redback. It puts you down for a few days. But apart from that, nah, because we're conscious about when we put a shoe on or a glove on or tracky pants or something that's been sitting in the garage.
Yeah.
We'll come out here. I'm gonna send you out in front of a mountain lion or something and be like, hey, check these out. Check out the bear.
Yeah, that's not going to happen, dude, because that's massive and you can see it, but you can't see all of our dangerous things.
That's in your shoe.
I know. All you guys' shit's deadly and small and sneaky.
Yeah, 7 of the top 10 most dangerous snakes, 3 of the top 5 most dangerous spiders. I teach my son every day when we go outside, are you putting your shoes on? Check what's inside, mate. Don't put your hand in there. just look inside, put a stick in there. If you see a web, grab it.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah, well, Shuey saved my ass because I saw the brown snake. I thought it was like our little gardener snake, and I started following it.
No, that was Shuey and you late at night with a bunch of bongs going, check out my brown snake, Dana.
No, dude, it was at Shuey at his property, dog. It was like, fuck, he went and chopped the thing's head off with a shovel. It was one of your brown snakes, whatever that thing is.
Yeah, no, they're part of our top 10.
Well, Dana didn't know because it doesn't have a rattle on the back. You know.
Oh,
Yeah,
so
over here we get a warning, and they go.
Yeah,
you guys
baby
need
rattle.
noisy snakes, don't you?
Yeah, we got noisy snakes.
They like to show off.
Oh yeah.
Yeah, I miss your bacon, Chris. I miss you guys' bacon over there. You got the best bacon in the world. I'm gonna give you that.
All right,
Yeah, you're a chef.
Are we digressing now?
Why
don't you
this is just a social chat now, really.
Yeah.
Yeah, no, this is your warm up. This is your warm up podcast.
How many hotels did we get kicked out of, Chris?
I'll have to bring my wife in for that because she was our hotel and accommodation manager for several years. But yeah, there was quite a few chains that that barred us, 5-star chains. But that's a whole story again.
Was it kind of like living a rock and roll group, so to speak, almost like a Motley Crue or a Metallica, or did we kind of have that feeling back in the day? Because we were.
Oh yeah, because there was a whole tour that we. Do you remember when we were promoting for one of our like national tours, and Ken West, who owned a Big Day Out, which was the biggest music fest down here in Australia for like a long time before he passed away. Bless his soul, he was a legend. And we did a Crusty Demons like display in the middle of like Stadium Australia in front of like 70,000 people while Slipknot were playing on stage and Foo Fighters. And we were staying in the same hotels as these guys in Brisbane, Sydney, Melbourne, Adelaide, Perth. And like I remember Grohl at one of the stops saying, "What floor are you guys on?" And we're like, "Oh, we're all on level 3." And he's like, "Fucking thank God, I'm on like level 3. I'm on level 6 because you guys party like all night." And he was basically he goes, "I'm a rock star, but you guys party harder than us." And we bounced into a lot of like different bands through the Night of World Records and obviously Big Day Out and bands that we had on tour for multiple years, and some of them were just blown away the fact that like they were rock stars, but we got treated better than them because we were Crusty Demons, and the boys would party and then they would hear security and police and fire trucks and stuff coming because the boys are building jumps in the car parks and using like the 5-star hotel golf buggies to jump on, and it was
I don't think like you're saying, probably party harder than rock stars, and the whole setup, like, everything used to be amazing. From even the way we did a tour, Thursday night would be the local bar competition to find 2 local guest dancers to dance in the show on Saturday night with all the dancers.
Our Crusty Babe parties.
Yeah, so right now you take a bunch of fucking American athletes, you put them in a bar with 20 fucking hot chicks trying to get a spot as a guest dancer in the fucking show, and it's like, what a way to start a Thursday night out, let alone the shows on Saturday.
I know, and it almost came to the point that like, do we
by the time the after hours party
on a Friday night, do we want our athletes going and getting super wasted on a Thursday night before they do practice for a Friday night show? And
that didn't even matter. the whole setup was, by the time that Saturday night and the after hours party and that whole rock star shit would come about, they've already had the whole perfect setup in the baddest country. And I mean, those are some of the funnest times. Like when we used to do Sydney and
Well, yeah, I mean, and again, that's another conversation,
You could
because
say
Yeah.
recipe
I mean,
for
we
disaster or recipe for success.
on this tour, and because of you and because of everything that we all did or whatever, Australia has created some of the baddest freestyle riders on the planet. You know what I mean? Like it from
well, yeah, we dominated X Games for like a decade because they would all train together, whether it was Aussies or whether it was Yanks. It was, it was a family. Like no one had any insecurities about telling someone how to do a trick better or something like that, because they were together for sometimes 6 months of the year when we were doing cap cities and regional tours. um,
yeah.
you know it was it was a family. So they spent more time with each other and like all of us touring party on tour than they did with their own families and loved ones. And that's why, and you bring up the Crusty Babe stuff, I always encourage the riders to pick up one of the Crusty Babes, because you're going to be on tour longer than you will be with your girlfriend at home. And it also saved me on accommodation, because it's not 2 rooms, it's a 1 room.
Okay. Well, how
Um,
come Bubba always had his own room by himself?
Because he
Nobody ever
farts and
had a room.
snores, dude. He farts and snores.
I hit
No
him
one
so
wanted
many
him.
times in the head with a tennis shoe, and he'd
Yeah,
wake up just going, "I'm sorry, Johnny. I'm sorry, Johnny." He knew what
yeah.
he was doing. He would
And
snore
even
like a
the Crusty Bay
falling
parties on
log.
the
Yeah,
the Bay parties on the Thursday nights, there'd always be 2 winners. But like, I would tell the girls, like, you're all gonna win tonight. There's 10 riders out there. You're all gonna win tonight.
Well,
You
that's
might
what
not be in
I
the
guess
show, but
the
you'll
whole
get a
point.
show. Don't worry about it.
Yeah. Well, that was the whole point of, like, setting up somebody on a good trip and an athlete over, the show weekend show starts on a Thursday night because, by the time the after hours parties come and this and that, it's like, man, those were good times, good experiences for, whoever was single or not or whatever, whoever did what on tour besides enjoying other countries. What a lot of cool experiences, Well,
I have a
hopefully we can come
question
back
for
around.
Mr. Clint over there.
What about me?
When
What?
you heard about us touring, because you grew up on our movies and got into FMX yourself, and you're jumping maniac on dirt bikes and Harleys now. What was your thought when you first heard of the Crusty Demons and going on these live tours
Well,
in
yeah,
Australia?
I wanted to get on a Crusty tour, obviously. I mean,
Yeah.
you see,
Was that your first reaction? Like, I need to be there?
yeah, I was like, I would love to ride one of those. They look sick. Just even
Yeah.
the crowds, besides even the crowds being crazy, just, Deegan coming out in a mini tank and shooting guns, and Seth on the Harley, and, the intros were even good. Like, it just looked like a well put together theatrical tour.
Yeah, those were cool. The dudes coming out the coffins, or when the dudes would be in the crowd and the spotlight would hit them. Like, some of that stuff made it. You know what I mean?
And
Yeah.
Chris, that a lot, hands down to Chris for coming up with a lot of that creativity. The character evolution that we made Deegan into the general. We made Kung Fu Feist. We made these characters
Hey,
that came out of
I remember
live shows. Yeah.
I got in trouble because we were late to the show and Seth was with me and he was supposed to be in the crowd in the cape. They had to put somebody else in there. We always came in fucking last minute, huh? We made it though.
Yeah.
We always made it like that. We made it though. right?
Hey, as long as you make it and get the show done, it was always good. But yeah, no, we put a lot of time and a lot of effort into creating like the show plans, which, as you know, John, were like sometimes 10, 15 pages long, and it's minute to minute from everything from like light, sound, audio, viz. Um, you know,
Very theatrical is the way we did it.
yeah, it was hard. It was
Theatrical,
hard
but
work, and no
dangerous.
one does that now. No
Yeah.
one does that
Hey,
now.
Chris,
No.
and I like when we try to go back with McMuffin's deal, like for me, the whole concept of choreographing a show, and of course, fucking Hannah, whatever, was helping us on that. But like how you choreograph, no one has ever duplicated how you would choreograph a show and get people coming from all multiple directions, freeze frame them upside down, and the things that we used to do with our playback and all that stuff, and the way the show was choreographed was like, it was fucking incredible. I mean, hands off, you just nobody's ever duplicated it. Even like Nitro with all their super money and whatever they want to do, they do cool shit, and I see
Yeah,
them
they
doing
did.
like
They did.
there's
Yeah.
a lot of multiple shit going in a lot of different directions, and they're thinking outside the box. But still, the way you had a unique writer choreographed to where the writers had to care. The writers had to be into it and care to
Oh,
really make it.
they had to care, and they had to 100% trust in just like themselves and the writer they're writing next to, but also for backstage where it was myself and Brooksy and myself liaising with our like show director, like second to second, because sometimes I would send 8 riders out side by side, like wheel to wheel into darkness, them knowing that as soon as they get within a certain section, like 5 meters behind a ramp, the lights are all going to come on. Because if they were riding into darkness, like they would no idea where they were going to be hitting. So it was that much trust, and again the family sort of environment that we created, that everyone believed in everyone, that they knew what they were doing. That's what made us and stood us apart, which, and I don't think anyone's replicated since. I mean, and I've
Nah,
done shows for Gladiator Games in Prague twice and tried to do it, but I don't have the production staff underneath me to do it. We've done them in Mexico with ex-pilots. I was over there for 3 years. I could not find a production team good enough to do it. What happened in Australia was so unique, and the
yeah,
team that we had, it was amazing. Yeah.
Everything's
Actually,
it's
been
completely
dumbed down.
yeah. Actually, in Mexico, we did do that thing where we lit Joel Balchin on fire, and the Mexicans never turned on the lights.
yeah.
And he
Men
hit
on fire, men on fire, men on fire.
yeah, man on fire.
Uh,
It looked
Yeah,
great.
and you remember that they actually had the guys with the wet bucket with the wet towels and the fire extinguisher at the base of the lander, not
Yeah,
like 40 meters down where Joel was supposed to stop.
yeah.
So he
no,
stopped
that's
and
where
he's on
that's where
fire
I was.
waiting, like, where is everybody? And he had to get like
Still on
back on his
fire.
bike and ride back to the guys that were supposed to put him out.
Yeah. Hey
And I'm
guys,
just like,
you're supposed to
oh
put me
my
out.
God.
Yeah.
Yeah. Yeah.
Too much
Yeah.
fun. I remember
That's the difference of another country.
Blaze flipped the UTV and fucking landed flat bottom on that thing. That one fucking hurt Blaze. Remember that was the
Oh,
Mexico
in
show,
Tijuana.
Mexico City. It was
The
Mexico
one.
City.
At the Crusty show.
Yeah,
Yeah.
the
He went off on UTV.
yeah, he went
Yeah.
off on a
Did
UTV
a
and fucking
backflip,
landed
pancakes or
halfway down
whatever.
the
Yeah.
landing.
Yeah. Yeah. No, I was thinking the one in Tijuana where Blaze was supposed to do the backflip on fire over a helicopter that I brought in, which would never be allowed on any other country on the planet besides Mexico.
Yeah.
And he flat landed his snowmobile, went to hospital again. So then I talked Wiley Former, yeah,
Yeah.
Into doing the backflip on fire over a helicopter for an extra $5,000. And he did it. And like while the blades are spinning. Like,
yeah.
You would never get away with that shit outside of Mexico. No way.
Well,
Mexico's, that's why we go racing trucks in Mexico, because it's like the rules don't apply. If somebody turns into a speed bump, you just get out of the country.
Yeah,
it's a different
they just bury you in the desert, right?
Well, you just can't, like, even the chase teams, if you get problems with chase teams or something, accidents, you get up to the American side of the border and then you deal with it. But fortunately, sometimes a drunk spectator will get hit by a race truck and they just, they get in a helicopter and just get the fuck out of the country.
Or a promoter might stuff about $50,000 in your backpack and make you go over to the United States. So,
dude, I've seen, you don't deal with the police. Like, I've seen they've landed, they've had the cops.
You're talking about me, John?
Yes, I'm talking about you.
Yeah, that only happened once, and I never went back. Yeah, no, that only happened once. Yeah, I have a lot of fond memories of doing over 40 shows down in Mexico for a certain promoter. But as both you guys would know, because you joined me on a few of them.
Of course. You took us down to Mexico City.
Yes.
Yeah, I try to stay out of that country as much as I can. It's
I don't think I'll ever go back there, but it is what it is.
Yeah,
but hey, I gotta grab my son from school in about 15, and I've just had a food delivery which is sitting at my front gate, and my wife ordered it, and there's probably a whole bunch of
why don't we go part 2 next time?
Yeah, we don't want you to go, Chris. We just want to talk to you forever.
Look, John and I talk.
Where's Arya? Arya, put your wife on. Let us talk to your wife.
No, my wife's not home, but I just had a food delivery at my front gate, and
what are you getting?
I don't. No. It's our click and collect, our grocery thing. But my gate opens outwards, and he stacked it all in front of my gate, so it's going to be like, look.
You got your food, but you can't get it because it's going to smash in the gate. This is going to be funny.
Right?
There you go.
Yeah. So, and it's super windy right here, right now. So anyway, well, thank you, boys, and good to meet you, Clint.
Yep, good to meet you too. We'll have to do it again.
I hope that was entertaining.
Go ahead, give us your Russell Crowe quote.
Hey, what are you cooking tonight, Chris?
Am I not entertaining? Right?
I like that one.
I'm not sure that's exactly how it went, but
yeah, no, from Gladiator.
Am I not entertaining?
Am I not entertaining you? That was from Gladiator, wasn't it? Because Gladiator 2 is about to come out.
I think he just says, "Are you not entertained?" But it's close enough.
Are you not entertained? Yes.
Well, if you want to know the full story on that, Unleash Hell tour came from that movie, because I watched it like a week before we were coming up with names and writing it all down on a chalkboard, a whiteboard, and I was like, well, you know what we do is we unleash hell, and everyone was like, done, that's the one. Unleash hell tour.
All right, well, we better let you go. You're all over the fucking road.
Yeah,
we'll do an Oz 2 with Chris Forman one of these minutes.
Chapter
good
2.
To see you.
I better go because I'm going to make a mess of these last 2 bags.
All right, brother. Good to see you. I'm a piece.
All right. Later, guys.
Later, everybody.